Welcome back to Hidden Gems. My name is Arden Thomas. I am the Cincom Smalltalk product manager. Hidden Gems is where we show you capabilities of the product you may not be aware of, but we think you should know about. This is part 2 of a Build It short series, and we're showing you how to get some data, parse it, and bring it into the system as objects so you can use it in Cincom Smalltalk. So for the example, we're using the Federal Reserve Economic Data, which is also known as FRED, Federal Reserve Economic Data. In part 1, we showed you how to download a file and parse it. Let's take a look. FRED, unemployment data. And we showed you how to download this file right here as a comma separated values, unwrite.csv. We showed you how to load that, parse it, and create a series in Cincom Smalltalk. So today we're going to attempt to do the same thing using an API. So this is part 2, essentially upgrade to an API. Now, why? What's the benefit of an API? Well, if the data is updated, I'd need to go to the site, download the new file, and parse it again. So this simplifies and streamlines the process of acquiring that data by using an API directly. So let's take a look at the Federal Reserve Economic Data website and about the API. So it tells you about the API, and there's all types of categories and information that you can get, including other languages that you can use. We're going to get it from Smalltalk, and it's pretty simple and straightforward. One thing I want to note is if you want to try this, you'll need to create an account and get an API key. And it's simple and quick, but you'll need to do that in order to replicate what I am doing here. So one of the things, let's take a look at what information is available. There's series information. So let's take a look at that right here, because that's what we got before. We got the unemployment rate series. So here is an example of the URL that you'll need. So you need to say all this series, the ID equals, and you'll need to put the series ID, and then your API key. So there's also an option here to get it. XML is the default. You can also get the data in JSON. So let's take a look at this. One of the things I did, I created a class FRED model and gave it these instance variables right here. Now, how would you do that if you're new to Smalltalk? You'd come right here, you'd say new class. The superclass is, so I could say FRED model B just to give it a different name, and I could put in the different instance variables and create that, and it will create that, and it will create all the accessors. That's what I've done here, right here. Okay. I'm going to remove that because we don't need it. I've already got this. So let's take a look at what I've got. I'm going to click on debug, model for unrate. So first we want to get the URL. The URL that we just saw at this web page right here. Notice I have this as a comment, and I can click on this and it will go to the web page we were just at. So we have this string, comma, series ID unrate as string. So this will give me let's inspect it. It will give me a byte string unrate. Concatenate that with the API key. API key equals self API key, which returns a string. This will be unique to you when you sign up for your account. And I'm going to make and file type equals JSON. Now, why do you choose XML or JSON? Well, in this case, I looked at both, and the JSON format seemed advantageous for delimiting and parsing the data for how we're going to use it. That's why. So I get the URL. Then I simply say HTTP client get the URL. And then the raw data, I can say the raw data is right here. And I can look at that. Let's take a look at that. So here's the information that we get back, and this is in the JSON format. So what do we want to do? Xstreams.json, decode the raw data. Okay, results. Here's my JSON. Okay, the real-time start is this. Real-time end. Series. Let's dive into this. Dive in again. Frequency, monthly. Frequency short. M, ID. Unrate. Last updated. Okay, that's useful information. Notes. Observation start, end. Popularity. Title. Unemployment rate. Okay, I'd probably want that. And in fact, that's one of the things I get. Units as a percent. And short. Okay, so a bunch of information. So let's take a look at that. We get that. The results at series S. First, that's my data. Now that's as a dictionary. So now I have that available to create my Fred model object. So self new. And this model has these instance variables, which I said, one of the things, I want the ID, I want the title, I want when it was last updated. Okay. So I can simply say to this data, to my model, title colon, data at title. So data at title, that should be unemployment rate. So I go through all these. You can see what it's doing. Notice these right here. Again, we discussed last time. I created this method because I want to be able to simply, in just a simple message send, because let's take a look at the data. Observation start. Okay, we have the date in this format, and I don't natively understand how to create a date from this format. So I simply, and it was very easy, I created it. Let's take a look at that. Date. Okay, so it says to this character array, date from year dash month dash day. And I created this also, which shows you how to basically create a date from that format. Because you always want to make things as simple and clear as possible in Smalltalk, and this helps you do that. So we do all this, and let's take a look at our model. This is our model. We have this data. We basically put in all the data that we got, but we basically created as instance variables some things that we thought would be very, very useful. The frequency, monthly, the ID, the title. We didn't update that. Observation end and observation start. Okay, we can see our the beginning of our data is way back to 1948. So we did all that. We got all this, and you may say, like I did at first, wait a second, where's the series? When we downloaded the CSV file, we created a series with all the data, the actual dates and the values. Where is it here? So we went right here to the Fred category series, and that basically gets you essentially the meta information about the unemployment rate. But if you want to get the actual data, it's the observations or data values. Okay, let's take a look at that. And here we have, oh, this is almost the same, only we say observations and the series ID. So we're going to do almost the same thing. I created another thing called Fred Series. And let's take a walk into this. Okay, the series URL, I'll get a URL, and I will get the response, I'll get the raw data, and I will parse that JSON, and let's take a look at our results. A little different. Okay, the file type is JSON, and here are the observations. Aha, okay, here's the data that we need. Let's take a look at one. Okay, in 1948, January 1st, the unemployment rate value was 3.4. And we have all of those right down to 6/15. And that's essentially the day I'm recording this. So we have this information, and we can use this to create our series. So let's see how we do that. Let's get the results at observations. That's our data. Then the data collect, we get our, from the dictionary. Let's take a look at our dictionary. Okay, that dictionary gives me the date and the value. So I just need to create a date from this, which we just looked at how. And from the string value, I can just say as number, which we'll see. So date from year dash month dash day, the dictionary at date. And that indeed creates January 1st, 1948. That's our date object. And the raw value is, we just created, okay, that's the string. And I can say to that value as number. Let's inspect that. And we have that as a floating point number 3.4. Then I simply create a daily datum. Well, what is that? Well, that's just something that we created in another series that has our date number, and for data and open, high, low, close, and volume information. We don't have all that. We just give it a close value, and it will use that. We create all those. Let's skip to the end. So now we've created all our dailies, and there's the date and the value for each one we can see. And daily series from dailies, just like we did before. And now we have created our series. Let's take a look at this. So we can essentially see the data and the date times, which are in a, and here they're kept as an integer format because it's more compact. One integer for the representing the date. A lot of systems that use dates do this because it is a compact format, and you can also sort. So the year, month, and day, and you can sort those numbers, and they sort in the proper order. And of course, we can go into the data and look at any of these, and it will show our date number. That's the integer. And it will also have the numeric value. So that is our series. I can inspect this and get our series, which now goes to the website and gets it. I can get the information about that. Let's inspect that. Okay, we get that, and we see this is the unemployment rate, how frequent. Okay, we just have monthly values. We could have daily, we'd have weekly values. So we have all that we have information about the series, and then we have the series itself using the API. So whenever I call this, it's going to get the latest, greatest data. I don't need to go out and manually download a file. So let's just quickly recap. In the first series, we showed you how to download and parse some data. Part 2 is upgrade to an API, and we showed you where to find the API, how to get an API key, how to get information about the series. I thought this was maybe the series, but it turned out to be information about the series. And then we found out where to get the observations and showed you basically essentially how to create a class that puts together the URL, makes the call. We showed you how to get it in JSON, how to parse the JSON data, and build a series. So next time we're going to talk about, okay, with all this, what decisions can I make to improve utilizing this? What are some design decisions that I can simplify and keep it very flexible? So until next time, enjoy using Cincom Smalltalk, and if you have any questions or suggestions, please send them to myself, Arden Thomas, at athomas@cincom.com. Thank you.